Hi there. Welcome to your weekly werewolf report in this, the year of the werewolf. You guys, I have good news this week. There's stuff to talk about. I am a happy camper. We're out of the rut. We're back in my happy place. So, okay, last week I told you that I wasn't 100% sure that the book I was reading was a werewolf book. Turns out it's not. It has a werewolf, perhaps, most likely. It's nebulous in its descriptions, but it's done very well. And the fact that I enjoyed the hell out of this book is the reason why I'm going to talk about it, despite it not fitting the theme for the year. I'm sorry, I can't help it. The book that I read is called The Beasts of Vissaria County by Douglas Ford. And look at that cover. That cover is gorgeous. By Don Noble. This book wasn't what I expected. It's unique. It's strange. Now it is kind of horror light. It is a supernatural book, kind of light on the horror, but it's incredible. I enjoyed every second of reading this, so much so that I actually reached out to the author to tell him how much I enjoyed this book. It's unique, and I'm a big believer that, especially here in the indie scene, last week even, I was just talking about how I keep seeing more of the same, over and over and over again, seeing the same thing. This book was so refreshing, such a wonderful palate cleanser. I've never seen anything like it. The way it was written was just so well done. I definitely recommend this book. I had such a good time reading it, even though it's not really a werewolf book. It is a great book nonetheless. Please pick it up. So, movie-wise, I've been places, you guys. I have been places. So, we're at this strange juncture right now where I have to admit that the two movies I'm going to talk about today are not good movies. They're not. Having said that, I enjoyed my time with them. I enjoyed watching them. Will I watch them again? No, definitely not. Unless I'm watching it with somebody to laugh at them. One of them you're meant to laugh at. One of them you're not. But I had a good time nonetheless. So, the first movie I want to talk about is Werewolf of Washington, made in 1973, and stars Dean Stockwell. And this movie is bonkers. This was a wild one. And it's supposed to be funny. The thing is this movie is supposed to be like a satirical lampooning of the Nixon administration and the whole Watergate thing. And you can see some of those jabs, but this was all before my time. I wasn't born back then. This is all stuff that I've read about, and it's very unfamiliar to me. So some of the jokes kind of flew over my head, and to be perfectly honest, some of the jokes just weren't well crafted. But this is a very solid werewolf movie. We've got Dean Stockwell running around in gray and white fur. It's a weird movie. A running joke is, okay, this movie and the other one I'm going to talk about, they both do that old chestnut, by now, gets on my nerves, the G word, gypsies. What I will say, at the very least, is where they encounter these people, and I don't know what word to use in place. I'm just these people. In Werewolf of Washington, he encounters this group in Hungary, and yeah, they live outside in a camp, but there's a sense that they belong there. And that's the case with the second movie as well. It takes place somewhere in this sort of somewhere place in Eastern Europe. And again, this group of people, they belong there. They live kind of, they live together and separate, but they also belong there. That's the very least I can give. Usually with these movies, this group of people have traveled to where normal people are and they're being run out. This is where they live. This is where they belong. They're not treated like outsiders. It's more like they choose to be outsiders. So, trying to make something out of nothing maybe, but this is how the crap starts, is because of those people, which you know I hate. But what's funny about Werewolf of Washington is the werewolf stuff, especially in the beginning, how the curse is contracted and how changes happen, and how the sort of torture of our werewolf happens. It completely lines up with the original The Wolfman starring Lon Chaney Jr. Down to he can see the pentagram in the hand of his future victims. Now, this is something that's always amused me because I love the original Wolfman with Lon Chaney Jr. Not because of Lon Chaney Jr., but it's a great movie. But I've always laughed at what they call the pentagram because it looks like someone took a star-shaped Christmas cookie cutter and put it there. So I'm going to pop up a picture here of what the Christmas cookie cutter looks like. And now it's so dumb. And this is what they used in the Werewolf of Washington. They used that. So it looks more like an actual occult symbol and not like a Christmas cookie cutter. But this movie, like, okay, so there's a scene where the werewolf is, the premise of the movie is he is a Washington journalist, a Washington DC journalist. And he takes a position as like secondary press secretary to the White House, to the vice president and to the president himself. And he's kind of like the guy who does the spin. He's a spin doctor. And of course, with him being a werewolf, this wreaks all kinds of havoc in the White House. And there's a scene where he's turned and he's in some sort of underground or adjacent place to the White House. There's a whole bunch of like, it seems too big to be just for the White House. It seems like it's for at least the government buildings in DC. And he encounters, like, there's a man in a cage, and there's like a Frankenstein's monster looking thing, and there's a doctor there who is a little person. And this doctor, who, you know, we're very much made to believe he is like a mad scientist type, and he sees the werewolf and he comes out and he's like, wait, what's your name? And this kind of frightens the werewolf because everybody else who sees him screams and freaks out and he kills them. And this doctor's like, no, come here. And the werewolf is like, he comes over to him, and the doctor's like, what is your name? And he keeps asking him that. And this scene gets so weird because he starts sniffing the doctor. He sniffs the doctor's butt. He starts licking his face, like actually licking his face. And he likes him. He has like a connection with this doctor. And then he runs away. He doesn't kill the doctor, but the doctor goes to like the generals, the chiefs of staff, and is like, we have to find him and bring him back alive. He's mine. It doesn't end up ending that way. I won't spoil it for you, but this movie is a weird one. And again, I definitely enjoyed the time that I spent with it. Again, I won't watch it again, but it's a weird one. The second movie that I want to talk about is called The Werewolf Reborn! Exclamation point. This movie, so in the mid to late 90s, they were doing this thing where they were going to resurrect, at first, the four major Universal monsters. Frankenstein, Dracula, the Wolfman, and the Mummy. Those were going to be the four. They were going to resurrect them and make them palatable to the 90s. They only made two. I vaguely remember them doing this, but I'd never seen any of the movies before. They only ended up making two. They made Werewolf Reborn and Frankenstein Reborn. And after watching this, I can see why. This is like an episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark? This is Nickelodeon meets Universal monsters. It's very simplified. It is a straightforward werewolf movie. It is a monster movie. Deaths happen, but they're not gory. They're not graphic. There are good transformation scenes. The werewolf is, it's a guy with hair glued all over him. He looks great. He's got a monster face. He does have kind of a wicked hair metal mullet, though, so that's something. I love when they have different looks, but it's obviously a werewolf, and it is a violent creature, and he has to be dealt with. And he is in Eastern Europe somewhere. He does contract the disease through that group of people that these werewolf movies love picking on. However, that group of people, they're very helpful, they're very kind. This movie, it's a little too simple, a little too innocent. The thing is, historically, teenagers have been some of the biggest consumers of horror movies. The problem is when you make the movie specifically for teenagers, especially young teenagers, like 13, 14, very innocent movies, you're getting rid of a lot of the appeal of a horror movie. Don't make them just for a young audience, because then the young audience won't want to watch it. You know what I mean? And that's the problem with this. And again, I wouldn't watch it again, but you know, we get the silver bullets, we get the werewolf mullet. There's a blanket used to completely subdue the werewolf, and that's a weird scene. It's surprisingly effective at subduing a rampaging werewolf long enough for the victim to get away and hide. It went surprisingly fast. It's a 70-minute movie. It's not short for a movie, but it felt like 30, 45 minutes. It went by so fast because it's so simple. It's so just down to its basic elements, which usually I would like, except it wasn't stripped down to its basic elements for the sake of simplicity. It was for the sake of innocence, which, not great for a monster movie. We need monsters. We need the monsters. We need gore. We need, stuff like that. But again, good transformation scenes. Nothing I can complain about. While I watched it, I had a good time. Yeah. So, Werewolf Reborn. I don't know if I put up the thing yet or not. Editing summer in the future. I'm sorry. That'll be it this week. If you can hear my heater going behind me, sorry, but I will die if I don't have it on. It's cold. It's cold. What the hell is going on with the weather? I think the last two videos I did, I was in shorts and tank tops because it's hot out. Now it's cold. I'm going to be making chicken and dumplings for dinner because we need cold weather food today. I was so looking forward to being out in the dirt and gardening this weekend, but it's going to be gray and cold, so I will be inside eating. So I hope the world is treating you well. I hope you're doing okay. And I hope you are enjoying these. So please check out, even though it doesn't fit our theme, please check out The Beasts of Vissaria County by Douglas Ford. Check out the movies if you're looking for a good time. Of course, they're for free on Tubi. And I will be back next week with more of my nonsense and hopefully more good things to talk about. So thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Bye.